Yes, church and politics should be separated. Church and politics should be separated. It seems like the conservative Christian shows on YouTube, they only talking about the Democrats and the Democratic preachers. That's all they talking about. But when I was a child growing up in church in the country, I can remember Republicans coming to our church trying to pull votes, trying to convince us to vote Republican. Now, if we want to defend church from politics, we can't focus on one side. I think the Republicans started all this. Like I said, when I was a child growing up in church, they would come to our church on a regular basis when it would come in time to vote. They started it in the South. They knew most black churches were Democrat or didn't vote at all, but they still would come to the church and push for votes. But now it seems that all the Christian conservative shows on YouTube, they are highly upset at all the Democrat politicians and preachers for standing together. And I have no problem with that. The only problem I have is it seems like the conservatives have selective arguments. They don't want to talk about how bad the conservatives been doing it. If we rewind the clock back to when Donald Trump was running, did we see an explosion of conservative preachers pushing for him? Did we not? They turned the churches into a circus for Donald Trump. But it's been going on. They started this stuff, but now it seems that the so-called conservative Christians are only concerned about the Democrat in church. Is it true? Is it really a genuine concern, or they just pushing for their side themselves, just trying to shed a bad light on the Democrats and actually pushing for the conservatives themselves? It seems that way. If you look at the young lady Standard of Truth podcast and some other ones, they don't hardly ever put their mouth against their own people. They don't criticize the Republicans, the conservatives, in the conservative-led churches. They are just as bad as the Democratic preachers. Even though talk shows and radio, conservative push conservative values through the churches and stuff like that. There's no separation. So we can't act like we're concerned on one hand, and on the other hand, they are pushing their side. When you go to church, you shouldn't hear nothing but sermons and everything concerning Jesus Christ in everlasting life. But this stuff is well embedded in the church, Democrat, conservative. It would never change now. It's too far gone. Nobody actually wants separation from the church. Because if they did, we'll have the conservatives and the Democrats pushing no politics in church, but nobody's doing it. But like I say, the conservatives, Christians, they are talking about it like they really concerned about it, but in all, they really pushing their side. April, Standard of Truth podcast, and some other Christian-based shows. There are none but politics driven. They, that's what their mission is, to pull votes for the Republicans. Shed a bad light on the Democrats and the Democratic pastors and all that, but at the same time, they're pushing for their candidate. You go into white churches, predominantly white conservatives in the South, they always talking against the Democrats and pushing conservative issues. But do you hear them talking about that? No, they turn a deaf ear to that. So we're going to act like we concerned. Let's be concerned straight down the middle and quit playing favorites.